Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. So I've made a lot of videos about polling over the past few weeks because every time a new batch of numbers comes out that supposedly shows the liberals are quickly catching up with Pierre Poilievre's conservatives, I have a bunch of people message me wondering if this is a real trend or it's a fake poll. Now, I can tell you right now, there are very few fake polls in Canadian politics. I would consider ECOS at this point a fake pollster. They will release polls with ridiculous regionals, like the Green Party of Canada having 18% in Atlantic Canada, or the PPC being at 16% in Manitoba. That's obviously not a real result, but Frank Graves will publish it anyways. The other pollsters, I don't think, are putting out fake results that are showing the Liberals surging. What I think is happening is they are not properly correcting for what I've talked about in the past, and that is a response bias. If liberals become super energetic at taking polls because they have a leadership race going on and they're far less depressed after Justin Trudeau has stepped down as leader or effectively stepped down as leader, then you are going to see a liberal surge that way outpaces their actual rise in support in the general population. And the reason I'm making this video today is I think I have a piece of proof that demonstrates that this is purely a response bias. Before I get into it, guys, just make sure to like this video. If you're not yet a subscriber, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to go for 100,000 new subscribers by the time December hits. And then also leave me a comment on whatever you think on the topic. It always helps me in the algorithm, and I usually like to scroll through and see what people are saying. Anyways, without further ado, I want to talk about this poll coming out by Leger that specifically polled people on how would you vote if Justin Trudeau was still the Liberal leader or Mark Carney was the Liberal leader? And suspiciously, despite the fact that Trudeau, when he decided to announce that he will resign in March, he was at 20%. Now he's at 33% in this Leger poll. Leger, like every other pollster, showed that in early January and late December, Trudeau was around anywhere from 17% as Liberal Party leader up to maybe 23% in a rare poll. Since January 7th, when he made the announcement that he'd be stepping down, do you seriously believe that 10% of Canadians have just rallied behind the Liberal Party, regardless of who the leader is? And someone's going to then say to me, well, Wyatt, it's because of the trade war. Canadians are really gullible, and because Donald Trump threatened a trade war and he said things about the 51st state, suddenly a bunch of Canadians want to vote Liberal just to spite Trump because the Liberals have said Poilievre is like Trump. No, because this whole trade issue started in late November, early December. So, how would Trudeau have been polling really bad then in the heat of the moment? But now that the trade war has passed, he is at his highest point in polling since like 3 years ago. This is what he was polling at when Poilievre first became the Conservative Party leader, and Conservatives still really hadn't come back to the party since O'Toole ruined the brand in the 2021 election. And it's because nobody really has come back to the Liberals. They are simply just taking polls more. And so we have the Liberals rising. The funny thing is, Conservatives are still at 41% because Conservatives have mostly stayed consistent in their rate of taking polls. And so they still have that big chunk in these polls. I think they should probably be more at like 43% or 44, but 41, 40 still not bad for them. With Mark Carney supposedly as the leader, the Liberals are now at 39%, the Bloc at 6, and the Conservatives at 40. Now, I really don't believe the NDP would simply be at 9% or even 11%. Jagmeet Singh might be an awful leader, and I have said it thousands of times in the past. Jagmeet Singh sucks at politics. Does he 9% suck at politics? I really don't think so. More than half the population of the country doesn't even know who Mark Carney is. And I'm seriously supposed to believe This man is at 39%. The guy has a new scandal like every day at this point of him saying something absolutely nutty in the past or him saying something crazy today. And I think that in the liberal leadership debate, he's probably going to fall in his face. He still might win the leadership race, but he's going to fall in his face because the entire guy's persona is fake. It's the idea that he is a central bank monetary policy expert, even though when he was the Bank of Canada governor, Harper and Flaherty were having to tell him everything to do, what to do at every point. And then since then, when he was the governor of the Bank of England, he engaged in massive inflationary spending. This is pre-COVID, and he was extremely high-handed in pushing for far-left policy. And then, advising Trudeau and the Liberals, he's basically told them to do every single terrible thing that ended up tanking Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland's popularity. But I guess he must be some sort of superstar because the media keeps saying he's not. Nobody actually likes this guy. So this is what I'm saying when I say that this makes no sense to me and it's a response bias. Trudeau didn't suddenly gain anywhere from 16 to 10% in national polls just because a trade war was threatened. Because he didn't gain in December, he ain't gaining now. Liberals are just taking the polls more. I just want to quickly jump over to some other poll results that we got from these things. I have this one right here. If people were to vote in election today, again, there's more regional problems. Look, in Atlantic, Canada, one, they somehow only polled 75 people. Most of this poll isn't ridiculous with Trudeau in power. I don't doubt that the Liberals might be able to get to 33% with a new leader if the news cycle really favors them and they don't make too many mistakes. But right now, the Conservatives are not at 41%, 23% in Atlantic Canada. All the polls up until 5 seconds ago showed them anywhere from like 40% up to 50%. I don't think the party suddenly switched and now Trudeau's Liberals are back to 52%, which is as high as Trudeau had in 2015. I'm sorry, that's just not how polling works. But overall, like Chris, the Great Canadian Bagel, who is a poll analyst, has pointed out, the regionals here aren't terrible. But at the same time, with all this excitement and with all this response bias, 33% sucks. And I simply do not believe Mark Carney is at 39 because I doubt 39% of people know who he is. This, again, is just people being spurred on to take polls because they're following the leadership race and they are now newly excited by the fact that Trudeau isn't an anchor on the party. Shreya Teest modeled out what the poll of Mark Carney being a leader would do to the seat counts. Based on the people you talk to in real life, not just your friend group, just the vibe of people. Are the Liberals going to win a majority government of 185 seats and the Conservatives would just gain a couple seats? The Bloc is not losing 15 seats, by the way. The NDP is not going to be at 0 seats. That is not happening. Jagmeet Singh's party is not going to lose downtown Winnipeg and a lot of these downtown Toronto and Vancouver ridings that they've had for like a decade. That isn't how polling works. This is not how public opinion changes over time. I want to find this other thing that Chris said. I think that was quite good. He said right here, and this is a commenting on the Leger poll with Trudeau as leader, he says, every single subsample except Atlantic Canada looks plausible to me. My 2 cents is that barring one or more of the Atlantic provinces swinging in a different direction than Nova Scotia, the region should be CPC 40. And I later commented to him on this that to me, I would agree that the Conservatives should be at least at 40% in Atlantic Canada. And that should probably pump up the national lead for the Conservatives from anywhere from plus 10 up to plus 12. Again, I think this is just one of those examples where people are going to have to wait. People are going to have to wait for a new batch of polls to come out in like a month and a half so we actually see where we're at. Because simply right now, there isn't the bandwidth for the Liberals to have people pay attention and switch their vote. Even Doug Ford is ahead right now in Ontario. Do you seriously think Doug Ford, one of the least popular premiers in the country, is ahead in the polls, but Polyev is starting to fall behind? I really don't think so. Polyev can still fill up rooms of thousands of people. Mark Carney, with a lot of effort, can get like a quarter of the size of a room that Polyev brings in filled up to surround him and make it look like there's a lot of support when it's just like the typical amount of liberals who usually live in Vancouver showing up or whatever. So yeah, I don't really think that Carney, with all the scandals, is going to catch up. I really don't think a bunch of Canadians suddenly forgave Justin Trudeau, and I don't think that a new paint job, even in the year 2025, actually brings people home to vote for the Liberal Party. You can tell Liberal ministers are resigning left and right. Pascal Saint-Onge just resigned. There was that other lady, Jennifer O'Connell, just resigned. Arif Farani resigned. Mary New resigned. Or at least they're all not running for re-election. But still, my point stands. These people in swing ridings and safe ridings don't think it's worth sticking around, and some of them are endorsing Mark Carney. You think the people endorsing Mark Carney think they have to flee? They know that their seats and their positions as ministers are secured if he wins. Most of these people endorsed him, so why are they leaving? Probably because ain't gonna work out the way that they think it is. Anyways, so that should be it for me today, guys. I'm technically traveling when this video comes out, so forgive me if tomorrow's video is a little bit truncated. I'm flying out to Kitchener, Cambridge area to help the new Blue Party out in the provincial election out there. By the way, I'm going to link Chris, the Great Canadian Bagels poll in the description below, as well as pinned to the top of the comments. He's just wondering how people are voting in the provincial election in Ontario. So fill out that poll because he wants to put out his own model for what he thinks is going to go on in the provincial election. And so he kind of crowdsources voters from different people's communities because it helps balance a poll better than oftentimes just randomly posting links to his poll. So fill that out, and I'll see you guys later.